Place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. I'm your host, Asher, and our guest today is Dani and Joyce. And I have these two incredible ladies from different locations around the world. We get to talk about needs today because that's our theme of the day is needs. What you need to think, do, or feel, or what I need to think, do, or feel that I'm probably not doing, not happening for me. We get to talk about that. And also we get to talk about the dream. What is that big dream that we all want to share with the world that we want to get folks, the community to come together around us and kind of help us build that dream. So whatever that dream is, we get to talk about that dream as well today. But I'm gonna have Dani just give us a little bit of what she specializes in, how she adding value to the world, and who she's been a hero to. And then we're gonna jump into Joyce the same way as well. Over to you, Dani.
Thanks for having me, Asher. So, I am Dani Rosenblad James, and originally I'm from South Dakota, but I've been living in Sweden for over 5 years now. And
Mhm.
I am a travel blogger, an influencer, a speaker, mind and body coach, and an author. Oh, and a mom. Can't forget that. So I'm quite a busy lady, and yeah, my passion is all of those things.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Dani.
Mhm.
Joyce, how you doing,
Thank
lady?
you. Thank you, Asher. My name is Joyce Wheeler. I'm originally from Chicago. I now reside in Louisiana for the past 14 years. And I help people to declutter and organize and let them know what kind of clutter they have and what type of organization system suits them best and how to maintain it. And I want you all to know that you all have clutter. I guarantee it. I will show you.
Clutter. So you into the clutter business or the declutter business? Did you?
Decluttering.
Because one thing I had challenged with growing up was the cluttered mind. So you cluttered the mind and the external, the internal, just the external.
Just the external.
Just the external. Well, that is a skill set, by the way. That
And
is
also
definitely a
I
skill set.
I do virtual coaching too.
Ah, nice. So what is that thing that you would say people need to think, do, or feel right now that they're not doing, that it's not happening for them, that you want to share with folks right now that that's been great for you?
I just feel that I have a background in holistic health,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been into that since 2010. And I feel this is part of holistic health because clutter has a negative impact on our life in various ways. So physically, it affects us because it's a tripping issue. There's a problem. We're tripping over stuff. It's also it can be a fire hazard if you're storing your stuff in boxes. Then you have the mental. When we have clutter around us, we can't think clearly. We're less productive. We're stressed, and financially, it impacts us because if we're not organized and we have clutter, we can't find our bills. So we end up paying a late charge. Our kitchen is cluttered. We can't cook, so we go out more to eat. We get storage units to store our stuff, which is really phenomenal. Like how many people have storage units? I have a Facebook group for decluttering and organizing tips and tricks with over 223,000 people in it, and you would be amazed at how many of them have storage, are paying to store stuff. And I'm just like, I don't get it. I'm naturally organized and I don't like clutter. I have to have everything has a place. Everything has to have a place. That's how you stay organized.
You're gonna love this, Joyce, and also Dani, because you just say you were a travel blogger. And what I did was, so a little quick short story about me. So I retired from the military of 22 years back in 2022. And after I retired, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna shrink my life down to two suitcases. So I got rid of everything I had, everything that I have pretty much could fit in two suitcases. And that was such a weight lifting, like feeling off my shoulder, like, okay, my God, like I don't have to worry about all this stuff I have hidden away somewhere. Like, what am I doing with this stuff? Once I start getting rid of stuff, it was kind of difficult because then I have to like cut ties with some of the stuff, like, okay, this stuff I can give away. I pretty much give away most of the stuff that I had. Just gave it away to somebody, like, hey, you can have it. And back in the past, sometimes I used to get rid of my stuff. I used to sell it for $1 only, right? Somebody like, oh, I'm just gonna sell it for $1. Doesn't matter what it is, I'll sell it for $1. But I gave away everything. Everything go fit in two suitcases, and I felt so good about it. So now, even matter of fact, I wrote a book called Two Suitcases to Success because it was built on that same story. Like, how do I simplify my life down to two suitcases and see how I can move around the world? Because I want to be a nomad. That's my goal, is to be a nomad, travel nomad. Just to like maybe not a travel blogger like you, Danny, but travel nomad. So I was thinking about that piece of it. But just thinking about my two suitcases life, Joyce, what are your thoughts on that, right? By the way, before we jump into Danny.
I think that's awesome. It's like our society has groomed us to be stuff oriented. You have stuff. Stuff makes you feel important.
Hmm.
It's a sign of how much money you have. But it's like it really is not. Less is more.
Mm.
Less is definitely more. I love the fact that I'm curious to know what you put in those two suitcases.
A couple of suits, couple of underwears, couple of shoes, some books, and some few things that I needed to have. That's it. And my
Gotcha.
hats, definitely my hats. So yeah,
Need the hats.
need the hats. I need the hats. It's part of my signature brand. I love the hats. But I'm curious, Danny, when you moved to America, how much stuff did you take with you to Sweden, by the
Um, I didn't bring so much, but I had to bring my books. So that was like two big buckets or three buckets full of books. So that was the big thing that I brought. But when I travel, I only travel with a backpack. Um,
way?
and that's how I travel when I travel to other countries. Even when we do our family travel, it's just me and my backpack. Then my husband has a big backpack, and then we just have a small one for our little guy.
Mm,
Mhm. So we're
interesting.
very minimalists.
So if you had to share that big dream for us with the universe right now, what is that big dream that you kind of focus on that you want to share with the world?
Big dream that I want to focus on. Well, right now I'm writing an upcoming book that is loosely based on my traumatic brain injury that I had.
Hmm.
And the reason I'm writing this is I know that it can inspire so many people out there because it shows how I overcame my traumatic brain injury and how I healed from it as well. And I mean, like how Joyce was talking about holistic health and everything like that. Well, it was nature that helped me heal a lot. And
Hmm.
it also, I found, was the mind, our mindset, the way we think, has such a
Right.
huge impact on the outer world. And we just don't give it enough credit as it deserves. And that's another reason why I became a mind and body coach, is because I want to help people learn how they can connect with themselves and learn how to listen to their body with everything that they have. Because I mean, it is possible. It sounds crazy to many, I know, but there are so many instances out there. You hear all these stories and things, and it is possible. If one person can do it, anybody can pretty much do it.
You said traumatic brain injury. You don't mind sharing what
Yeah.
happened?
Okay. So, this is when I lived in South Dakota, and I was on my way back to California to work when I lived there. And it was a 7-car pileup in Wyoming on black ice. Visibility was less than a mile. And all I remember is going, oh shit. And then I hit the car, one of the cars clipped it, and then cut open gash here, had blood coming out everywhere. My dog was with me. Luckily, he survived and everything. He was fine. I had to be helicoptered to Salt Lake City, Utah to get the help that I needed. And then I was in ICU for 10 days. They induced me in a coma, and I came out, I think, after a couple of days and felt foggy and was kind of just like, whoa, what's going on? And I didn't feel like me for the first 2 years, which was very frustrating, and I felt very lost. But in that time frame, I think my ego was kind of pushed aside as well. So I was actually able to hear my inner self. And I remember myself going, this is just but a moment. And that's what helped me keep striving to get better and realize that this isn't how I'm always going to be. This is just right now. But my future was going to be completely different. And I knew it. And so I kept pushing and pushing and working on getting better. And the doctors wanted to give me medicine, like pain medicine. And I was like, no. They're like, you're crazy. And I'm like, no. And I remembered that about myself is I overdo things. So if I didn't feel the pain, I would overdo it. And then in the long run, I would probably hurt my body from doing that. So I didn't do that because I wanted to listen and feel what my body could do and couldn't do.
Mm. You said that was 2 years ago?
No, this was 9 years ago. It was the
9 years ago.
2 years that I didn't feel like myself. So
Okay.
it's it was probably about 7 or so years that I finally felt like as healed as I could be.
Mm.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts, Joyce? I saw you shaking your head over there. What's going on in your mind?
Well, I'm just agreeing with so much that she's saying about how powerful we actually are as human beings and how people don't listen to their bodies. I uh I had gained weight when I was younger, and I
Mm-hmm.
started listening to my body and feeling how when I ate something, how did I feel?
Mm-hmm.
Did it feel like I had a rock in my stomach? Did it make me feel bloated? And through that process, I was able to go, okay, these foods my body likes, these foods my body doesn't like. So I'm just totally, can relate to what Danny's talking about.
Mm. Listen to your body. That is so true, by the way. The body speaks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to listen. But I think with our society, I think sometimes we're just too busy to listen. We don't sit still long enough to listen.
Mm.
And I think that's actually a really good thing about COVID happening is we actually had something that was like, whoa, all of us have to pause because we're going through this whole pandemic. And in that instance, I think a lot of people actually were kind of forced to listen to themselves, or I mean, many probably felt crazy in their head mentally because they had no way to no external things to push them away from actually reflecting on their self. And that is probably one of the most scariest things I think a person can do is when have to they have to face themselves.
Mhm.
It's really oh my gosh, I'm still dealing with it. And when I try to do it, there's some days where I'm just like, oh, I gotta go there. Oh, okay. It can be tough.
Now, the pandemic did not have an effect on me
Uh-huh.
because I still went along living the way I had always lived. And because
Mhm.
I worked from home, I was pretty much in the house a lot of time, just going out for groceries and stuff like that. So for me, there really was no change. But I can understand what you're saying. People kind of being like, "Whoa, I have to sit here with myself, with my thoughts,
Mhm.
and really think about things." But I do think that it was a good thing. I'm sure a lot of people got a lot of insightful information about who they were and how they were.
It's interesting. I was thinking, I'm looking at the date. So in 2024, and COVID was at 2020, 2021, kind of like.
Yeah.
It feels like it feels like it was just yesterday, but it's like it's years of counting up, right? Like if you're looking back,
Yeah.
it's years of counting up. But I want to go back to your story there, Danny, about when you had that brain. Like I want to remember, like if you can remember how what your thinking process, your thought process, while you was going through that phase, and what were you thinking or feeling during that time frame?
I was so frustrated and angry for a while there just because I felt lost. And it's like when you're dealing with that, I couldn't understand what was going on because it's like I was missing my ego, I was missing some of my attitude, I was missing things that make us human and make us feel like the individual person that we are. And I mean, it's really good that they were put apart so that I could focus on the inner works. Um, but when you are brought up, you're brought up with all of these beliefs and all this base base that makes it feel like you are you. And when that feels like a lot of it's gone,
Mm-hmm.
of course you're going to feel a bit lost. And so that's why the first 2 years were so hard for me because it's like I felt like this all was lost, and then my memory was crap, and then it's like I couldn't do more than an hour of work a day without my whole body in pain, and that having to deal with that and accept it, whew, that was difficult because I'm a hard worker, and having that taken away it was tough. And then also relearning how to walk those first few days, relearning how to use your brain. I mean, yeah, it was it was definitely a journey, and I'm so thankful that I got to do it, to learn for this, and to be able to help so many other people with it.
Hmm. Here's what showed it for me. I was thinking, you know, you were talking about the part of you that was no longer there, that got disconnected, right?
Mhm.
And that part of you that you remember about yourself that's disconnected, you're trying to find it. I'm trying to wonder, like, how was that like trying to find that part of you that disconnect, but you don't know what it exactly like? Do you know what part of you was missing? Like, I want to be that person again. Like, what was going through your mind at the time?
I think it's just that I felt something was missing, but I couldn't place what it was.
Hmm.
And it was like I knew something should be there, but it wasn't. I didn't I didn't really know what to grasp for. So it's like I would go within myself, and I would feel most at peace when I was like in this darkness. And when you think of it, it's like kind of sounds creepy, but it's like when I was in that complete darkness, I felt the most at peace when I would do that. And I think this was also the time where I was figuring out how to heal myself, and the same time, I found out that this is how I meditated as I was healing. And on the outside, people would look at me and see I'd look like I'm dazing off and like I'm so out of it. But I was actually doing all this work within myself, and it's it still blows my mind to this day at all the stuff that our bodies can do. And it's just, yeah, it's crazy to me.
Here's what's interesting. I was trying to tie a connection here. So, you know, like some people, like they're walking through like it's like, hey, I know something is missing from my life. I don't know what it is, but I feel like something is missing.
Yeah,
And then we start searching for that thing that's missing, and we might chase that thing that we go in the world trying to look for it. But then you're saying that the answers to whatever that was missing from you was inside of you, right? So
yeah.
even with that brain problem, that the accident, it knocks you off your axis, knocks you off the thing that you were attached to. But then you was thinking, where is it? Where is it at? Is it out there in the world? But then it was actually inside of you. You just gotta go back in here and find it because it didn't knock off of you, right? It was still inside of you. So that was interesting when you were saying that. I was like, okay, so now a lot of people like, I want to find my purpose. Same thing. I feel like the thing I'm looking for is missing. I gotta go find it. But then you realize that it was still inside of you all the time. It didn't got disconnected from you. It's still inside of you. You're the container for it. So that's
Mhm.
what came up for me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's 100%. I would say that's it. Because it's like, as we're growing up, we add kind of baggage to ourselves of things that's not needed, that we turn into beliefs and stuff, but it ends up limiting us and ends up holding us back from what we truly are. And yeah, so I think it was probably good that the accident had happened to help me get rid of some of the extra baggage. But of course, time happens and you add a little bit more here and there because you travel or you have life, and that always ends up having a little bit more. So it's an ongoing process taking care of yourself.
Thank you so much for sharing. And speaking of baggage, I know this is specialty for Joyce. She's still adding more baggage to your life. But Joyce, like you're saying that you declutter stuff, right? You declutter
Yeah,
people from like the stuff that they're carrying around, the baggage that they pack, they carry on, that's weighing them down. How do you help them do that?
I'm the voice of reason. I'll give you an example. I had one client, was going over there to actually help her organize her home office because she had just moved there. And this is one mistake I see people make is they take their clutter with them instead of decluttering before they move.
Mm.
But when I went there to see her office, she was showing me around the house. And she said, "These are my clothes, and I'm not getting rid of any of them." Well, lo and behold, a while later, she called me to help her declutter her clothes. So we went through things one at a time. And it's just, she had capris, and it was like she had multiple pairs of white capris. Well, it's like I allowed her to keep two because one had an elastic waist, the other one had a button. But it's just, she had so much stuff. And it was funny because when we got done decluttering her closet and she saw how much room she had, she said, "Can I go get some of that stuff back?" No. It's like, no, you cannot go get some of that stuff back. It's just a matter of weeding stuff out. I mean, she had some stuff that still had tags on it that she was giving away. It's a matter of making them, helping them to think about, why are you holding on to this? What is it? And that's where the different types of clutter come in. Like we have identity clutter, things that we keep that we can, say from high school. I was a cheerleader, not me, but just an example. I was a cheerleader and it was a really great time in my life. So I kept my cheerleading outfit, you know, tickets from first concerts and stuff like that. That's identity clutter that people hold on to. Then we have the guilt clutter, things that we don't want to get rid of because Auntie Rose gave me this sweater and she's my favorite aunt. And what if she comes by and wants to know if I have it? And I don't, but it's ugly. I don't like it. It makes me itch. I never wear it. So that's guilty clutter. And then we have the future selves of who we want to be, who we see ourselves as. So we might go out and go, well, I want to get in shape. I'm going to start working out. I'm going to buy a treadmill. I'm going to buy these workout clothes and these workout shoes, but it never happens. So the treadmill becomes just a place to collect stuff. So let's say identity clutter, guilty clutter. I'm missing one. There's one more. Anyway, there's actually 5 different types of clutter. Oh, the maybe someday clutter. I might need that one day. I can't get this away because I might need it. And the rule for that is that if you can replace it for less than $20, get rid of it. But that's why people, they have clutter and they don't even realize that there's different types of clutter that they hold on to.
I'm gonna say this and people can be like, Asher, that's not true. But I'm gonna say it anyway to make a point here. Because I think the American culture, I think we're the most accumulating, collecting culture I've come in contact with. The American, they just love to just love to have a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that they don't need. And I see that a lot. I'm like, man, I want to get back out of this. Because I bought into the culture too. I got here, I'm like, oh my God, I got so much stuff. I can never use them. They're just sitting around. I'm like, I gotta get rid of this stuff. So, and I think it makes you feel like you're not able to mobilize because there's so much stuff, so many stuff to kind of like move with. So parting ways with stuff. That's gotta be hard for a lot of people. I know a lot of people they don't want to get like this is mine. I can't.
It is. I have a Facebook group, as I mentioned earlier, and the members are mainly women over 65. And I hear them talk in the group about how they have their mom's stuff, their dad's stuff, their grandmother's stuff, their grandfather's stuff, and they can't get rid of it because they're holding on to the memories. And I can kind of relate to that because it's like when we see a picture, it's like, oh, I remember that. We had so much fun. That was such a great thing, when you're looking through pictures. But, what I tell them is to take a picture of it, create a folder for it, and write something about it. You don't have to keep it. Grandma's gone, grandpa's gone. And in all reality, would they want you to keep all this stuff along with your own stuff? I don't think so. But people, and these are, a lot of them they're boomers. So the boomers were great for collecting stuff and keeping stuff and not giving stuff away. But I agree with what you had said about, Americans being the most consuming. But you have to realize too that for years we've been bombarded by commercials telling us we have to have this. This is the next best thing. It's kind of like a brainwashing thing.
Danny, I want to tap back into your story a bit because I was thinking about something when Joyce was talking about the stuff that reminds them of their grandparents, so on and so on. I was curious to know, you said nature heals you, but was the stuff in your life, was that anyway useful as far as getting your memory back, connecting you back to whatever your past story that you would say you felt like something was missing? Was the stuff around you useful, or was it nature was the really primary thing that really got you back to finding yourself?
It was definitely nature because even before my accident, I didn't travel with very much. I mean, I used to be a hitchhiker for a year, and then around that same time, I was a weed farmer for 5 years. So
Mhm.
I had a very unconventional life, and then the accident happened. So, I mean, even before my accident, I was very much into nature and being out there instead of a big city or anything because I feel so much more at peace there. And it's so much more calming to be there instead of in a busy city. And I love being in the mountains, in the forests, and going out swimming and just having no cares in the world when you're out in the nature, really.
Mm. It's something about like freeing up spaces, and it seemed to happen externally and internally. Like when Joyce was saying that the lady got rid of some of the stuff in her closet, but then she's like, "Oh, I got room. I can't get some of the stuff back." And it's funny because we don't like to see a lot of empty spaces. I realize that about a lot of people. Like you move into a house, like not just me person, don't even go by me. But I would go into a house and I would just get a few things in the house and be empty. And I like the emptiness of the house. Some people like to have stuff everywhere. I like to have room, space. So it's interesting when you think about somebody like when you're quiet with themselves, like just your own mind, that becomes a challenge as well because now I'm just in my own thoughts, I'm in my own space. Like the peace and quiet. Do I like myself when I'm being by myself? Do I like myself when I'm being by myself? And that's sometimes a challenge for people. So the having a lot of stuff is quite distracting and it feels some kind of way when you have it, but then when you by yourself without nothing, what kind of person you are in that moment. So just thinking back on the stuff thing, Joyce, are you a person that accumulate a lot of stuff at home right now?
No. No, I'm not a stuff person. I'm not a materialistic person. My thought is the more stuff I have, the more stuff I have to clean, and I don't like to clean. So
That's a
no.
good way to think about it.
My husband always jokes and said if anybody broke into our house, they'd be like, "We got to go get these people some stuff." We haven't anything.
Yeah, you have it here in you. Yes. That's the best place to keep stuff. The experience
Mhm.
inside of you. Mm.
Right, and that's one thing these people have a hard time grasping the fact that they have the memories. Everything is what's inside them. Grandma's not that china set that you kept. That's not grandma.
Mhm.
Grandma's gone. That was her china set. Yeah, but you have memories of it. Yeah, but you don't have to keep it. You have the memories in here, and that's where they're going to stay.
Also, I think because I'm a person I love to travel, kind of like Danny as well. I think you would travel too, Miss Joyce. But I like to travel because when I'm traveling, I just go get to find a new experience and I get to collect them. Just like I said, I'm collecting stories and circulating life changing wisdom. And I love collecting stories. So I'm not a person attached to many things. Like I'm attached to new things that I haven't experienced. I want to go find those. And I always just feel like I need to clean up, make room in myself for the new experiences. So I need to get rid of stuff so I can bring more stuff in. And that's why I kind of see myself when I'm moving around in life. How about you, Danny?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's what I'm always about. Like that's a huge thing I talk about on my travel blog is I'm so much more for paying for experiences over anything else. Because I'd rather have an experience that I can live with and think about here and there than pay for, oh, stay at this fancy tour retreat or something like that, where it's like you're not actually getting into the culture or into the being around the locals. That is what I love the most.
Mm.
And that's the huge reason why I'm loving traveling now is because I have a 3-year-old and he's been to, I think, 5 countries now. I'm like, geez, he's just 3. And I
Wow.
just love that so much because that means he's being surrounded by all these different cultures and having all these new experiences at a young age. And so it's going to help him, his personality, the person he grows into.
Mm. Where you used to weed farm at? I'm curious about that. Oh, if you don't.
What what about it?
Where you used to weed farm at? I'm curious about that.
Where?
Yeah.
It was Northern Cali.
Northern Cali. Oh my God. Weed farming. Here's a story.
Humboldt County.
So my dad, I even write about this too. My dad, growing up, my dad was a weed farmer too in Jamaica. I grew up in Jamaica. So my dad was a weed farmer. You know, he used to have his weed farm way up in the mountains. I never used, I understand after a while he tell me why he put his plant his weed so far in hills. Because you got thieves, right? I didn't realize how much people used to steal weed, but they used to steal weed. So he told me the story. And he was telling me that we was just like nursing this one crop, like just nursing it for it to come to life and right, because he was waiting on the moon, the right moon for him to cut it, right? So it was like I'm waiting on the right moon. So and I think it was like a Friday before that moon. He would say he was bleaching that it was kind of bleaching all that at the in the hills, like left you like after sundown. And then when he came back the next morning, they reaped up his place real good, stole everything.
Mm-mm.
And it was like Asher. You know, I cried like a baby. I was so beat. I was so broken. It was like I went back to town, just went to the bar and just go have a few drinks and just kind of drink away. But it made me think about, this challenge of really, putting work in and then somebody take away your stuff. But that stuff right there was putting food on the table for his kids, what I mean? Sending his kids to school, paying school fee and so forth and so on. But it it hit me in a certain way because I was like, I was thinking about, you know, how much we put into things, and then some people that just didn't just wait for you and just take your stuff from you and just move it, and then how would that make? I'm not a big fan of thieves, even though I used to steal stuff when I was a kid too. But I understand when you was a kid. But really in life, I don't. This one person, I think that this would be some serious laws against thieves. Like that's one thing. Like people that steal other people's stuff, it's a different kind of feeling. And I could see my dad when he was telling me about it, it was like I was so heartbroken, I cried. I'm like, I can definitely feel that way. But you was Northern California. How was the takers in Northern California when it comes to weed for you?
So that was over mm, 9, 10 years, 10 years ago? No, 9 years. Something around that was the time that I was doing it. So it was before it became fully legal. Like it was still okay. It was in the gray zone though. It had its issues. So I always had a gun on my hip,
Mm,
and we had little sensors throughout the property. And my neighbor, she told me a funny story she thought was pretty funny. There was a guy that had stole from her, I think, the year before, and he came back. And she had a shotgun, so she
mhm,
blew off his hand, and he still hung out in that small town near us. And it's like everyone knew who he was because he was missing a hand, but yet he still hung around. And she thought that was really funny. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is my life now. Oh.
mm. Wow. So it was is it a partnership for the planting or the cultivation, or was it just he was working for the plantation?
So I was working for a, I was working for just one person. It was
Mm,
his farm, and he had a couple different farms here and there. But yeah, so I was just working underneath him when I was doing it and everything. And yeah, it definitely was an eye opener. And we had bears pretty regularly as well. It was
mm,
pretty interesting too.
cool. I didn't ask you, Joyce. What was your big dream? I didn't ask you.
Oh, I have a bunch of them, but right now I am working on a deck of cards for decluttering and organizing. So I have the deck done. I'm working on the book. So think about like an oracle deck or a tarot deck. It's like that, but it's for decluttering and organizing.
A deck of
Cool.
card. How does that work? Tell me, but I'm curious. I'm curious.
Well, I felt like each room, I'm a very woo woo. So each room has a different color. So the
Mm-hmm.
bathroom is blue because blue is relaxing. When we're in the bathroom, we like to relax.
Mm-hmm.
So for the bathroom, and it's bite-sized chunks. It's not like a huge thing. It's like go in to your closet and declutter one shelf. Or if it's a big closet in one section of the shelf, declutter that, get rid of any old medication, any expired shampoo, any like half almost empty bottles of shampoo, not your makeup, because makeup does expire. Get rid of that. Get rid of the stuff that you're not using. People tend to keep holding on to stuff that they're not using because they paid money for it and they feel like it's not okay to get rid of it. But you know what? It's not okay to buy something and have it sitting there either. It's like, what's the difference if you keep it and you're not using it, or you throw it away?
Mm. You mentioned something key just now. You keep it because you paid money for it.
Yep.
And I'm not giving this because I paid money for it. Even though you're not gonna use it, it might have expired, but you still holding on to it. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. So the blue, what is give me this, I'm curious about the card. What else you got for the card? What is other ideas for the card?
Well, like I said, the deck is done. I'm working on the book. So we've got the bathroom is blue, the bedroom is gray, the kitchen is green. We've got the playroom or the bedroom that is yellow. The den is black. The outdoor section, it's orange. And all these colors, they spark emotion in us.
Hmm.
So all the cards have a word on it, like maybe encouragement,
Hmm.
for the kitchen. They're all very positive words. So that I'm hoping that when someone is using the deck, they'll be like, okay, I'm doing the kitchen. I feel encouraged,
Hmm.
that it'll spark that emotion within them. But it's out there. It's all little steps. It's like in the bedroom, clean off the top of one nightstand, put things, if their things don't belong in that room, put them back where they belong. Put, only the things that should be there, that you really need to be there, keep those there. And I encourage people, if you're going to get a nightstand, don't get one with a drawer, because all it is for clutter. It's a clutter getter. That's all it is. And I tell people all the time too that, because they want to organize. You can't organize until you declutter,
Hmm.
because we are not organizing clutter. We're organizing for the space that we have. So the space that we have, you have a drawer, that drawer is a container. So I'm hoping to have this deck done soon. And because of the fact that I do declutter, I found a platform that does digital cards.
Hmm.
So it's going to go up there. If they want to buy the cards, they will have the option of buying cards.
I like this idea. I do. It's
Mhm.
where so that means they have the deck of cards, and then if you coaching them, that means hey, today's blue or tomorrow is green, whatever it is, you gotta work on it. You just kind of and you gonna have instructions on the card too, I guess I'm assuming.
It comes with a book.
Oh,
So it'll tell them, like I tell them how to use the deck. So for instance, you don't have any kids, do you?
I have a daughter, but she doesn't live with me.
All right, she doesn't live with you. Do you have a room for her?
No.
And that's fine. There's
Hmm.
there's no judgment. It would be okay if you were to buy the deck, you would take out the children's room and playroom because you don't need it.
Hmm.
Here in Louisiana, I had a hard time with this deck because I I don't like clutter. I'm organized. And also because of the fact that I don't have a basement or an attic, where
Hmm.
a lot of places up north do. So there were parts of the deck that I struggled with like that. So like if those rooms don't apply to you, take them out of the deck and put them somewhere at the bottom of the deck or whatnot. So that, because you don't want to get rid of them, because what if you move and you have a house that has an attic or a basement, or you decide to have a child's room and playroom. So you want to keep those, or even if you decide that, what, I'm done with the deck, it served me well, I'm going to hand it over to somebody else.
Hmm.
It's all intact. So my daughter came up with the idea of an option. It's like take each room and have like a drawstring bag for it and put it somewhere in that room. So it can be used different ways. You can go ahead and shuffle all the cards together, or just pick one random, or you can just focus on one room. So it's however you want to utilize the deck.
Wow. I love the
Nice.
idea, Joyce. That's interesting.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, that's really good. And I've been studying the mindset, and that's a huge thing that they talk about is decluttering. And
Mhm.
like they're like, oh, go through your clothes, get rid of what you have, what you don't wear. You have like check out if you've worn everything within 6 months or something, and everything after that, or whatever it is. And the same with like looking at your desk, your office desk, or whatever else. So yeah, what you're doing is awesome. It definitely is helping people.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Dani.
Yeah.
Because whether you know it or not, this is not a excuse for a lot of people. We can accumulate things, but getting rid of it, it takes a whole different kind of energy to get rid of stuff.
Yeah.
See, I don't have a problem getting rid of stuff. Like we plan on moving back to Tennessee within the next year.
Mm-hmm.
So I am not waiting until then. And the universe is speaking to me because we have June 1st, we have a town-wide yard sale going on. So I'm like, this is perfect. I can get rid of the stuff that I don't want to take back to Tennessee, take it to the yard sale and go ahead and sell it. So, I would recommend if you plan on moving, I would recommend you start decluttering before you pack, or declutter while you're packing.
Mm, perfect. Wow, this has been a learning experience. So I meet you, Joyce, with your decluttering skills, and I meet Dani, that mental decluttering piece of the skill set as well. Just kind of finding yourself a bit. So you guys been interesting. We're gonna wrap up a little bit here. I know, Joyce, if somebody got to reach you, I know you mentioned your group at 20 and 25,000 people. What's the name of that group, by the way?
It's called decluttering and organizing tips and tricks. And the and isn't the and, it's the symbol and.
Mm, decluttering. Okay. And if people got to reach you, what's the best for them to reach you?
You can visit my website at try-parish declutteringservices.com.
Perfect. What about you, Dani? What's the best way people can reach you?
Yeah, people can reach me at misfitwanders.com. And that's Misfit Wanders for Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Misfit Wonders. I'm curious about that name. Why that name?
Because I've always been a misfit. I mean, a little bit about my unconventional backstory. So there's a bit of a misfit there. And it's
Oh,
been like that since I was little.
well, Misfit, you just gotta find your people, man. That's
Yep.
what I tell everybody. If you find your people, sometimes dudes saying that like if you're with somebody and they think you're crazy, you're with the wrong people. But if you're with people and they're like, oh, I don't think you're crazy, you're the right people, because only the people that you don't belong to think you're crazy. When you're one of the people that all think crazy like you're in a normal group. So it's all about the group of people you're hanging around with. So okay. So what is your biggest takeaway from this conversation, Dani, if you gotta share?
I would have to say that there are different kinds of decluttering. I didn't think about it, but when she pointed it out, I was like, oh yeah, there is the guilt. And then there's like that one where, oh, but what if I need that in the future kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not right now. And I was like, ah, yes. So it was nice to hear about those.
What about you, Joyce? What is your biggest takeaway from this conversation?
Um, Listening to Dani talk about her traveling and about her head injury, and it's something that she mentioned about the head injury, because I know of two other people that had a head injury, and they're not. I was listening to her talk and kind of pay attention to her movements, and these two other people that I know that went through the same experience, probably in the same like period of time that she did, the whole recovery process and everything. And I wouldn't say they're doing as well as she's doing. So she had me thinking,
Mm.
and I love the weed story.
Okay, here's the closing question. What is that one thing or two things that people do when they do it drives you crazy, if you had to share? Something with Joyce.
Oh, let's see what they do to drive me crazy. Uh, it's I love my husband to death, but it's hard living with him sometimes because I declutter and I organize, and he
Mhm.
comes behind me and messes things up. I have a story I want to share. When we were in Tennessee, he'll take out the pot holders, and I'll come behind him and I'll put the pot holders away because I think he's done with them. Well, one day I walked into the kitchen. He threw pot holders all over the kitchen. It was just like, you like picking them up, so go ahead, pick them up. And I was like, okay.
I think he's probably messing with you. Like my wife, she like to put stuff away. I'm just
Oh,
gonna be.
yeah,
I'm gonna take them out.
that's exactly what he was doing. He's got a great sense of humor, and it's one of the things I love about him is the sense
Uh-huh.
of humor. So, I wasn't angry about it. I was laughing. I thought it was funny. Is there anything else that drives me crazy? People who are inconsiderate of other people.
Mm.
That people who do things and they don't think that there's anybody else on the planet but them.
I'm the only animal here.
I try to be understanding. I try to like put myself in other people's shoes because I don't know what they've been through. I don't
Mhm.
know what kind of day they're having. If somebody's driving slow in front of me, are they lost? Are they a new driver? You know, I
Mhm.
don't sit there and get mad, but there are some people that just deliberately will. Oh, great example. You're in the store, right? And you
Mhm.
want to go down this aisle, and there's two people with their carts right next to each other, sitting there talking. They turn around and look at you, go back to talking, and don't even move. Those are the people I'm talking about.
Okay, I know. Thank you so much for sharing. What about you, Danny?
Oh, so I have one that's very similar to that, and I would say when people think that their time is more important than yours.
Mhm.
So it's like, oh, when you're supposed to meet up with them or something, they don't show up.
Mhm.
And you're like, I've been waiting here for 10, 20 minutes. Thanks. Not like I could do something else with my life at this time. And then another one I'd have to say is my husband as well. Another one of those. So when we watch a show or a movie or something, he has trouble staying still for very long. So he'll start like picking at his fingers or start picking at his like ear or like he has to keep doing something. And it's like drives me nuts because it's so hard to focus on like if I need to figure out the storyline of a movie or something. And he's over there going and making these little noises and everything. And I'm just like, stop it.
Wow, this has been interesting. Thank you so much, both of you, for showing up and sharing your story. And I really appreciate you guys tapping in here. It's great meeting you, by the way, yeah, Danny and Joyce. Very interesting.
Yeah.
You too,
Great to
Asher.
meet you too. And you
Yes,
too, Joyce.
You too, Danny.
cool. And you guys are tuned into Pandora's Awareness podcast, a place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. You get to hear some stories from Danny and Joyce today. And if that was valuable to you, go ahead and put a hashtag live in the chat, hashtag replay if you're catching this on replay. And just let us know you're out there watching and listen to us. With that, folks, any last word before we go? From me, both of you guys, any last word?
I just want to tell Danny maybe she needs to get him something to fidget with.
Mhm. There you go.
Yeah, give him a little ball or marbles or something, and then make some noise. Maybe just one marble.
Well, they have fidget rings, so you can put it
Ah,
on your. Yeah, the middle part goes around. It's called a fidget
okay.
ring.
Mhm.
Perfect. It sounds perfect for that little fidgety guy.
There you go.
You just got a tip there, Danny.
Yep.
Enjoy. All right, folks. Well, make it an awesome day.